Vladimir Zelensky a few days ago said that according to his intelligence, Russia has made all the preparation for an attack on the plant, not an accident, an attack. His chief of military intelligence said that preparations are being done. Russian troops have moved vehicles charged with explosives into the plant. They've mined the cooling pond. You have a team on the ground. Is this what they're witnessing?
Well, I would never, enter into an argument with the president of Ukraine, whom I know very, very well and with whom I've been in contact regularly and meeting with him personally. What I can say is I was there. I did not see this kind of development. Our teams are there and they are reporting every day what's happening. I'm not privy to this intelligence report that you are referring to.
Right. So you don't think that there will be a Russian attack on the plant? It's not what you're seeing.
What I'm saying is that we don't see what you just said. In terms of the future, I wouldn't be so, adventurous into getting to, what is going to happen or not happen there. I think anything can happen. This is what worries me.
This is my video update from Larnaca, Cyprus on this Monday morning, July the 3rd. Let's talk about some news. So tomorrow we have July 4th. So happy 4th of July. On the 1st of July, we had Canada Day, so happy Canada Day. And today is Belarus Independence Day, so happy Independence Day to Belarus. And right now, I am at the Kamaris Aqueduct in Larnaca, Cyprus. It's actually on the road to Limassol. So if you're in Larnaca and you're going to drive to Limassol, take this road down and you pass by this aqueduct right here in Larnaca. Let's get closer, see what this aqueduct is all about. So we have a lot of talk now about the blowing up of the ZNPP, Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And even the New York Post, they ran an article the other day, and they talked about how Russia is preparing for a nuclear sabotage at the ZNPP. The New York Post, they said Ukraine is preparing for a nuclear explosion as Russian troops ordered to leave the Zaporozhye plant. So Russia is going to blow up the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. That is the latest and greatest next false flag that we are getting. And as I've said on many videos, the blowing up of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is a desperate attempt for the Zelensky regime to try and pull in NATO, specifically pull in the United States. That is what Zelensky really wants. He wants the U.S. involved in this conflict. And my belief is that the American people want nothing to do with this conflict. That's just my belief on the situation. But we had the IAEA head honcho, Mr. Grossi, I believe is his name. And he was giving an interview to France 24. And he said that his team, which has been to Zaporozhye many times, actually, I believe he has a team that is based in the ZNPP. I don't know if it's based there on a permanent basis, but it comes and goes pretty regularly. And he said that he has seen nothing like what the France 24 reporter was talking about, which is that the Zelensky regime and Ukraine intel, they claim that Russia is stuffing dynamite and explosives underneath the ZNPP so that the whole thing can just blow apart. Why? Why is Russia going to do this? Don't know. Don't care. If anyone has watched the Critical Drinkers channel where he does movie reviews, he always says, don't know, don't care, when he's talking about plot holes, which are which are nonsensical, which are just ridiculous. And that's what this is. Why would Russia want to blow up the ZNPP? Well, for the same reason that Russia wants to blow up Nord Stream or the Kakhovka Dam. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? It's just Putin being evil, so he's going to blow it up. That's basically the narrative that we're given. Or the narrative is going to be that Putin was so humiliated with the Wagner mutiny that he had to blow something up. You know how those dictators are. When they get very, very humiliated and embarrassed, they just blow stuff up. That's just dictator rule 101. That's what they're taught at dictator school. That's what the collective West is going to be selling the collective West citizens. And that's what the mainstream media is going to go with. But, Grossi, even though in the interview with France 24, he does say that his team has not seen anything like what Zelensky is describing or the France 24 reporter was describing. Towards the end of that clip, he does leave a little bit of wiggle room. He does leave a way out by saying, I'm worried that anything can happen. So he does kind of leave that little bit of room so that if a false flag happens and if the collective West, they really pressure the IAEA, then the IAEA can say, maybe the Russians did do it. He does leave that little bit of an out if too much pressure comes from the collective West to go along with the false flag narrative. I don't trust any of these institutions and these organizations. My belief on all of these institutions and organizations, whether it's the Olympic Games or the UN or the IAEA or whatever, my belief is that they're all compromised and they're all controlled by the collective West. And if enough pressure is placed on these organizations, well, eventually they can fold and they'll go with the false flag narrative. All of this reminds me of Syria and when Assad was winning, and he was winning big time, like really kicking the butt of IS. All of a sudden he decided, dictator rules 101, he decided to just, chemical strike in where was it? Duma, like right outside of Damascus. I mean, he was rolling back all of IS, the Obama-funded IS terrorists. He was rolling them back. He was winning in a big, big way. And then all of a sudden, he decided, you know what? Let's just do this chemical attack. Why? Because I don't know. I just want to do it. I'm Assad the dictator, and that's what I do. And everyone's like scratching their heads. Why would he do that? He's winning. He's winning big. But that was the narrative that they sold us. I think it was Nikki Haley. I think Trump was president at the time, and Nikki Haley was the ambassador of the UN. I could be wrong about this, but I do remember Nikki Haley was giving this big speech at the UN, holding up gruesome photos, and I think Ivanka Trump was crying to President Trump because she was outraged. And anyway, the CNN reporter was smelling gas on a backpack. This is deadly gas. Yeah, this is deadly gas, no doubt about it. Oh boy, so that's what this all reminds me of, because Russia is winning big time on all levels: military, economic, support from the entire planet. If you take the 40 countries of the collective West out, diplomacy, Russia is just winning across the board. If this was like a sporting event, this would be a rout. And so why would Russia blow up their own plant, their own nuclear power plant, which the people that Russia has in their narrative, the people that they have liberated and that they have added to the Russian Federation? Keep in mind that now the nuclear power plant, all of this stuff is part of the Russian Federation. That's how Russia sees it. Why they would blow up their own property? Don't know. Don't care. Whatever. Anyway, the counteroffensive is going really, really, really bad for the Zelensky regime. I was actually watching an Andrei Martyanov video yesterday, and he made an interesting point. I think a very, very good point, which is that usually if you're engaged in some sort of an offensive or some sort of operations, especially an offensive of this scale and this much hype, if you haven't been able to break through or show any results within like the first 14 days, the first 2 weeks, usually it means the offensive is just done. It's move on, next thing. And we're now on what? This offensive started June 4th. So we're a month into this thing, and Ukraine has still not reached Russia's first line of fortifications. The NATO meeting is on July 11th in Vilnius. Zelensky, he has said that he needs to make some sort of territorial gains before the big NATO meeting, so he can show everybody at NATO that the 150 billion or 250 billion or 350 billion, God knows how much money has been spent in Ukraine, that this money was well spent because Zelensky managed to make it to the first line of fortifications. So there's going to be a very, very big push to show results in the next, I was going to say 10 days, not even 10 days, the next week. Time really is going by fast. So expect something big to happen. We got the ZNPP. We're going to get a big push from the Zelensky regime to try and show some sort of results. Zelensky, he was already making excuses. He said the other day that Ukraine has not been able to make any gains in their big counteroffensive because it's been raining. Then the Ukraine military, they said that the French tanks suck. They actually said that the French tanks are useless, and that's why we haven't been able to make any gains. And then, of course, you have the usual narrative of we need more weapons. That's why we haven't been able to make any gains, because we need more tanks and F-16s and all kinds of stuff. So that is where we are right now. Man, is it hot. I am crazy for coming out here in this heat. Oh, but it's beautiful. I have to tell you guys, it's, the Cypress Tourist Board, they really need to showcase this stuff. And the interesting thing about this area is there's nothing really around except homes. This is open. You can just walk here, drive here, and no tickets, nothing. It's just part of the neighborhood. Makes it quite interesting. Let's see, what else should we talk about? Should I talk about France and what's going on in France? Macron is like banning all of social media. That French democracy. So Macron is like banning all kinds of media and posts on the protests in France because, well, Macron believes that if there are no videos and photos on social media, well, then none of this is happening, right? But France is a complete freaking mess. A complete mess. And we did a video the other day on the Duran. We talked about how Le Pen is rising. She's getting a lot of support now in France, left and right, young and old. But, the question with Le Pen is always, can the support hold? Will it stick? That is always the big question with Le Pen. It looks like it will. It looks like this time around, Le Pen is positioning herself to take over as president of France. But 2027, is France going to make it until 2027? The way Macron is running things, I don't know. They'll get past France will get past this protest, but the next one, it's just going to get worse. And then the one after that, just gets worse and worse. And it all builds. The one protest builds on top of the other, and it builds on top of the other until something breaks. So Medvedev, Dmitry Medvedev, he gave an interview, I believe, to the publication Gazeta, if I'm correct. And this is what Medvedev had to say. I will note one thing that politicians of all kinds do not like to admit. A nuclear apocalypse is not only possible, but is also quite probable. Why? There are at least two reasons. First, the world is in a confrontation much worse than during the Caribbean crisis because our opponents have decided to defeat the largest nuclear power, Russia. They are, no doubt, complete idiots, but that's just the way it is. And the second reason is quite prosaic. Nuclear weapons have already been used, and everybody knows by whom and where, which means there is no taboo. And Medvedev also said in this interview, he actually called for the suspension of diplomatic relations with Finland, Poland, Britain, and the Baltic countries. So that is Dmitry Medvedev. He's the person on Putin's team who's kind of there to warn the world about the catastrophe that we're heading towards if they continue to push Russia and continue to escalate. I think that's his main purpose. He's there to scare people, he's there to warn people, and he's there to say, look, if you continue to push, then these are some of the terrible things that await us. Listen to the bird. All right. So not very, very positive statements from Medvedev, but I don't think he's there to give out positive statements. I think he's there to give out warnings. And hopefully there are people in the collective West who read his statements and take his warnings seriously. Let's start wrapping up this video. The German publication Welt, speaking about the big counteroffensive, they said that summer is the best time for a counteroffensive, but the armed forces of Ukraine have until December. So Welt is actually floating out the possibility that the counteroffensive can last for 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, and it's no big deal. Let's just keep on sending weapons and money to Ukraine because the counteroffensive, the Zelensky regime, they can keep on doing this for month after month after month, which is nonsense. It's ridiculous. Max Blumenthal, during his speech at the UN, I think he laid it all out perfectly. This is one big, massive money grab. Yes, there's geopolitics involved in it. Yes, there's ideology involved in it. Absolutely. Yes, there's a lot of hatred towards Russia. Absolutely. There's the big chessboard that the neocons always love to talk about, the big chessboard where they're moving pieces around and they're conquering the world and they're all powerful. There's all of that. But when you get down to the very, very foundation of it all, it's one big money grab. And destroying Russia or getting your hooks into Russia, regime change in Russia, is also about money. It's about access to Russia's resources and plundering and pillaging Russia like what they were doing in the 90s. Finishing the job that they started in the 1990s. All right, so let's do a clown world. I don't know if I have much of a clown world today, but I know I had something bookmarked. Oh, I want to talk about Schultz, the Schultz interview that he gave to ARD. Boy, Schultz is not really bright. He gave this interview to the German TV channel ARD, and he's like appealing to the German people as to why he's been escalating this conflict with Russia. And he tried to position himself as moderate, as someone who's trying to fight for Kiev, while at the same time to protect Kiev's democracy, as they always like to tell us, to fight for Kiev's democracy, while at the same time not provoking Russia and not trying to escalate with Russia. And during this interview with the ARD, Schultz was like, look, I'm in sync with Joe Biden. That's what he's telling us. I'm in sync with Joe Biden, and our escalation is perfectly tuned, perfectly calibrated, so that we can give Ukraine everything it needs so that they can win this conflict with Russia, but we don't give them the capabilities to strike Russian territories. And he talked about the long-range missiles and how the Zelensky regime now wants long-range missiles from Germany, and how Biden and Germany are resisting the calls for long-range missiles. But the Biden White House, they'll give over the attack of the long-range missiles. But that's what Schultz was trying to sell the German people on, that the policy towards Ukraine is not chaotic and a complete mess. It's actually well calibrated between himself and the Bidenopolis White House. It's kind of windy here, and I didn't bring my windshield, my wind guard, but I think the video will be okay. I apologize in advance for that. But Schultz also said that he made some strange statement about Crimea. He's like, in Ukraine, he's like, I hope I get this right. He's like, Ukraine was never part of the USSR, was always independent of the USSR, and Crimea was always a part of Ukraine. Hence, Crimea is always going to be a part of Ukraine. And like all the historians and all the analysts were like, what is this guy talking about? Does he not know the history of Crimea and the USSR and Khrushchev and putting Crimea underneath the Soviet socialist state of the USSR? Because back then the USSR was just one big country, big republic, right? I mean, that was the USSR. And so it didn't matter, at least at the time, it didn't matter for them whether Crimea was in this Republic Federation or in that one. For them, it was all one big USSR. And so, it was Khrushchev, wasn't it, at the time, who was like, yeah, just put Crimea there for now. But Olaf Scholz was actually trying to sell the German people on the fake history of Crimea, on some sort of fake narrative about Crimea. It was a really bizarre statement from Schultz, but you know what it showed? It showed that Schultz is completely lost. He has no idea what's going on. He really does, and he's way out of his depth in all of this. He's a middle manager. Schultz is like a middle manager in the German government who somehow ended up being chancellor. He has no business being chancellor, none whatsoever. Somehow, some way, I don't know. He hopped over various other people. I don't know what happened. Other people that were in line for chancellor, and he got in. I don't know how it happened, but you could tell from the interview with ARD that he's way out of his depth. But anyway, I wanted to talk a bit about that. And I think I got his quote right on Crimea and Ukraine. Pretty much right. Let's now do a clown world. And you didn't think that the French riots would be unfolding without the collective West trying to create some sort of Russia connection. You didn't think that was possible, did you? Of course not. Russia has to be shoehorned into the French riot narrative somehow, some way, and leave it to British media to figure out that way. So the Telegraph, they came out with a post with the title, "How Russia is Using French Riots as Propaganda." Kremlin propagandists have gleefully presented videos of rioters torching streets in France as proof that decadent Western liberalism is destroying Europe. The Komsomolskaya Pravda tabloid reported that this Garden of Europe was on fire, with unrest in France spreading to other countries. There is no end in sight, it said. The troubles have now spread to Belgium and to the previously serene and calm Switzerland. Germany could flare up, end quote. And what's wrong from this publication? What are they saying that's not true? Did Jungle Joseph not say that Europe is the garden and the rest of the world is the jungle? was that not Joseph Borrell who made that arrogant, dim-witted statement? Yes, that was Jungle Joseph. Is this not spreading to Belgium and Switzerland? Yes, it's spreading to Belgium and Switzerland. Was it not the collective West just 6 days ago cheering on the whole Wagner mutiny thing? Wagner went from the most dangerous group on the entire planet to becoming a freedom fighting force in the span of 22 hours. Was that not the collective West that was cheering on Wagner to overthrow Russian President Putin? The West was cheering it on. They were ecstatic. They were partying like it's 1999 about Wagner's mutiny. Macron himself said that the Russian Federation is fragile, that Putin is fragile, and now is our time to strike. Now is our time to really push for regime change because Russia is fragile. It's breaking apart. That was the collective West, Telegraph. That wasn't, I'm not making this up. I'm not imagining this. And so what Russian publications are reporting is true. This is the end of neoliberalism. It is the end of the unipolar world order. Nothing works. It's not working. Macron's presidency is not working. It's not working for the French people. The EU is not working. The EU is not working for their citizens. It's not working in the best interest of European citizens. So everything they're saying is absolutely true. And if the Russian media is kind of, saying, haha, you guys just a week ago were talking about our breakup and our fragility and our troubles, and you were happy about the fact that we had this incident with Wagner. Well, karma acted very, very quickly to come back around and hit you guys in this instance, to hit France. But it's coming to other countries in different forms and in different ways. But it's going to be coming. The collapse is well on its way for the collective West. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, and Rockfin. And go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Free Assange. Free Pablo Gonzalez, who is being held in Poland. I don't know why he's being held, because I think he has a Russian passport, but he also has a Spanish passport. I don't know why Poland is holding him in prison without a trial. What is wrong with you? The government of Poland. Free this man. And, of course, free Gonzalo Lira. The State Department needs to pick up the phone and order the Zelensky regime to free Gonzalo. Deport him. Send him out of the country. Say, you know what? You can't report from Ukraine. We don't want you here. No problem. That's what they need to do, though. Anyway, that's the video, everyone. Take care.